Good afternoon. Welcome back to United TV. We're going to be looking at two players linked to Manchester United in the summer. There's very difference in terms of price tag because Senesi is available on a free. Murillo is going to cost quite big money. I've got the £70 million on the thumbnail because stories that I read this morning, a couple of journalist articles were saying that Nottingham Forest will want big money for a player they regard as one of the best players at the club. And a few people actually messaged me this morning saying that Nottingham Forest fans, Stephanie was one of them. Also, I spoke to a Nottingham Forest fan. They really rate Murillo. They think there's going to be a big battle to try and get this player signed. It does seem to be that at the moment, maybe Manchester United, looking at these two players, they will have different strengths and weaknesses. I think a lot of people, Manchester United fans, might be looking at the price tag and making a decision that way. I don't think that necessarily is the case for Manchester United. There's loads of positives about each player. And someone this morning also messaged me saying about the positives about Senesi. Manchester United should be going for him. It does seem to be that Manchester United have very set criteria of what they're looking for. And maybe at the moment they're edging towards looking at a player like, say, Murillo to start with, but the price tag is going to make it difficult. We know there's going to be big money spent elsewhere. It's going to be a difficult decision. So I've got a poll running in the comments though, because this is a channel where we like to be interactive. We like to get people involved. And the poll's there to run just to say, look, let's see, have a discussion about it. You can vote now or you can vote during the stream. But the idea is to get an opinion of what people think at the moment. I'd imagine that what we're going to see here is that there's going to be a lot of stories coming out, and it's only the middle of April at the moment. And I think people's opinions might well change on what's the best target. If we had a discussion about midfielders, it would probably change on a week by week basis, or maybe every couple of weeks. You'd look at different targets available, work out what the price is, look at those, and think actually there's some good options there. So if you've got some thoughts or opinions, strong or even indifferent, if you've got some thoughts and opinions on these players, this is your chance to really get those comments in there, and we can have a discussion as well. So I'll just go through a few of the comments as well, just to see what people are thinking. And I wanted to also welcome a newcomer to the channel as well. So welcome. I'm just trying to get your name right. Welcome Nemsdal FC to the chat, or LFC to the chat. Welcome to you. Thanks for getting involved. And let me know also if you're a rival fan, have different views. It's all good. Let me know what you think in terms of these players. One thing that is interesting is that there will be a lot of people looking at these players, and I've also seen Manchester United fans talking about, trying to think who it was now. There was Van Heck and there was another player, and also Chelsea are looking at centre backs. So there's going to be a bit of competition. There could potentially be competition from other clubs abroad as well. I've seen Real Madrid linked to players as well. And when you look at free transfers, this is probably the interesting news I've seen is that one journalist will say that Manchester United would preferably prefer to go for Murillo. And when you speak to Nottingham Forest fans, they think he's fantastic. There is probably also a couple of issues with Senesi in terms of, is he at an age where Manchester United are tend to look for younger players? Or also, is there a bit of a vulnerability in the air in terms of like how good he is aerially? And this is something which I posted a message this morning. I did a little short on YouTube and I posted a message on TikTok that when you look at aerial duels, Senesi doesn't do that well, and that could be a factor in terms of like whether they're actually going to go for him. So that could be a factor regarding what Manchester United are looking at. I mean, it's not just price. I mean, the price is obviously a little bit of a factor, but no, it's something that Manchester United are looking beyond. Like I think as fans, we looked at it and thought if you can get a couple of good players that are available on a free, it's almost a no-brainer to try and get them in because the squad numbers we've got just are not sufficient for next season. But it's not necessarily that case. That's what I say. It's not necessarily as straightforward as that. So let me go through a few of the comments as well. And so also big up to G Wolf in the chat as well. Good to see you, G Wolf. Let me know your thoughts, G Wolf, as well, in terms of like what do Manchester United need to do. We need to do a lot, to be honest. Cody says, I would take Murillo over Senesi. Let me know what your specific reasons are, because when I'm looking at Graham Bailey, who he was the guy that broke the, if you remember, like going back to last summer, I'm pretty sure Graham Bailey was the journalist that broke the believer interest towards the end of the summer. He was like the first person to get involved with that. I'm not going to say that he's 100% on every story, but he's got a record of not being too far from the mark. And he's saying Manchester United and Chelsea and Liverpool stepping up their interest. We know Liverpool missed out on Gahey; they thought they were going to get him. Is I think if you're trying to replace Van Dijk, then I'm not sure if Senesi is going to be at that level that Van Dijk used to be at. I'm not really sure about that one. I would say that there's a lot of clubs that are looking at. I would say for Chelsea, actually, Chelsea, Senesi's always looked pretty stable as a defender at Bournemouth. Something that Chelsea's defence sometimes look a little bit shaky. But I think for Manchester United, I'm not sure if he's good enough in the air. I think his aerial duels, he wins about 50-50. And I know, talking to other people, they look at other aspects of his game and say actually he's quite good at other aspects of his game. But I think one thing that Manchester United, if they're looking at moving on Maguire at the end of next season, because they're going to extend his contract, if they're looking at moving Maguire on and getting someone in, I'm not sure Senesi would be the person that you want to replace him. I think he's got a skill set that maybe we already have at the club. But anyway, I think people will have a different opinion on this one. So let's go into the chat as well. Also, if you are new, please don't forget to click a like on the video and subscribe and leave a comment as well. And if you're also able to share on socials as well, that would be massively appreciated. 100%. Welcome, Clive, to the chat as well. Good to see you, Clive. Good to see some like fans of different clubs as well. I was actually speaking to a content creator that's a Nottingham Forest content creator, and I've known him for a couple of years, and I might try and get him on at some point. If anything materializes and we start looking at players, I will try and get some fans involved from different clubs in the evening podcast because that will definitely be something we can look at, see what they think. But as far as feedback goes so far from Nottingham Forest side, if we're looking at Murillo, we're going to have to spend pretty big money, pretty big money. And I look at it and think he's good, but it's going to be a tricky one. This is the story I saw about Murillo as well. And my first reaction, this is Barcelona are apparently monitoring him as well. My question here would be, if Barcelona put out stories saying that they cannot afford Rashford for £26 million, then the chance of them trying to buy a player of this is going to be at least kind of 2.5 times that. I don't see how this is. Now, maybe they are monitoring. Maybe there's. I don't know what the situation regarding this one would be. Clearly, if Barcelona actually did have the money, then that would be a tempting prospect for Murillo. But I don't think Barcelona have got the financial power to try and do that sort of thing. So we'd have to see if that happens at all. But it would be interesting to see. Welcome to the chat, Danny, as well. So, if Danny, if you've got some like serious questions, then let us know. In terms of Jim, this is something that I think is the key factor as well. That Murillo, I'm trying to think, I can open up a couple of windows and look for some information, but if someone's able to post the respective ages of the two players, like Murillo and Senesi, we can just do a comparison of what the age difference is. But it seems with Manchester United, we are almost like most transfers, actually, if you look at it, most transfers, when it comes down to two different options, the last 18 months or so, we've gone for the younger player. So I'd say sometimes we can debate and question whether we've actually gone for the best signing or made the right decision. And I think actually in some cases you would say Manchester United made the right decision with going for a younger goalkeeper, and we got a very good goalkeeper in Lemons. That was spot on. We got that right. We went for a younger striker, Sesko, over Ollie Watkins. That's probably, I would say, this season, I think goals scored, it might actually be quite similar for the two players. But I think for where Manchester United are, and over the next couple of years, that will prove to be a good signing as well. The question is going to be now, are Manchester United going to be keep doing this, going for younger signings? I think it's probably a good idea, but you've seen with Aiden Heaven and Yoro, they are 19 and 20. They're going to be our centre back partnership against Chelsea. We'll have to see how that works out. But it does show that Manchester United, it's great to get these younger players in. And I think it's really good in terms of, like Jim said, you future proof the team because you don't need to replace these players for a decent amount of time. You've got these players in the club for a long time. That's why I think Anderson is everybody's number one target because he's a very good midfielder, but he is young, but you would need a bit of experience. So we will give Gakpo for 80 million. Is that links to Barcelona? I mean, Barcelona don't have the money, do they? If they can't afford Rashford, and can you imagine a story where Barcelona actually buy Murillo for like big money, or they buy Gakpo for big money, and you think, right, just cough up. If you want Rashford, you better. Like, we're not even asking much money. Stephanie is right. Says he's highly rated is rated as highly as Anderson by Nottingham Forest. And big shout out to Talk Forest TV, my Nottingham Forest friend who's been on the channel in the past as well. And I was saying to you that if anyone's got any questions, this is a good point. If anybody's got any questions specific about Murillo, strengths, attributes, things you think are going to be a reason why he's so highly rated by fans, this is a good time because Talk Forest TV is a Nottingham Forest content creator. He's going to be the man that can answer more questions. I can look from a side and say, Manchester United looking at him in terms of like the attributes they like, physical, strong, powerful player. They're looking at someone that's going to have the experience that maybe some of our players don't have, and it's I think it's going to be an expensive signing if we do get that. I mean, this is the reason why. I mean, Nottingham Forest they cause us massive problems, don't they? And I'm trying to think the results this year. Got a 2-2 draw against them. They've got. This is why I said I think Nottingham Forest have got the players to get out of trouble. When you look at some of the players they've got, they're linked to top clubs. And you look at West Ham as well, they've got some very good players. Like we looked at Fernandez, we talk about Bowen, but he's never going to leave. And we saw Paqueta go for big money in January. These teams around the bottom have got some good players. I would say that this is why Spurs were in trouble because even having good players, arguably you can say Anderson, one of the best performers in the league this season, winning the ball back, running things in midfield, protecting the back four. He's doing so much for Nottingham Forest and they're still struggling a lot this season. He would be. There's going to be potentially Nottingham Forest. I think they're going to stay up and be fine. But it's going to be an interesting summer for Nottingham Forest fans because there's going to be some big money coming in if some of these players go. And I think for Anderson, I have no idea what the price will end up being, but it's going to be pretty big money. You look at Morgan Gibbs White, you look at Murillo. This is big cash coming in. It might be a little bit like the Newcastle situation last year, where they did sell players for big money, like Isak moving, and you have to look at it and say you got to spend the money wisely. I think for Nottingham Forest, it could be a tricky situation, and I think for Man United, we're going to have to probably spend big to try and get this one over the line if that's what we're looking at. So if you sell Gakpo, you're going to get Barcola. Says Jim, this is Man United fans, isn't it? Like, why not get both of them? Do you think with this situation that if Manchester United are looking at them and you look at, I think I was looking at one or the other because I do actually agree. You make a sensible point here that if you were looking at trying to get both these players in, then for me, this would be a question of, right, you got Aiden Heaven, you got Yoro. The Maguire contract extension's already been done, so he's at the club. You probably look around the club then thinking, we do actually need centre back cover because Lisandro Martinez and De Ligt do have a lot of injury issues. I would say this one, can you see any scenario where I would say if Manchester United were able to get both of these players, you could probably look at then saying, is there scope to actually like move one player on and then have six? We've got five at the moment. Get six centre backs at the club. That would be plenty. And I think you've got a good mix of ages. Then if you've got Aiden Heaven and Yoro, you're bringing in experience. And also these players are going to be vastly experienced. I think with Nottingham Forest, the good thing about Forest this season for these players as well is they've had a lot of European football this season, so it is a positivity. We're getting some experience not just in the Premier League but in Europe. So Murillo will get compared with Licha because of his height. I think a lot of people are looking at him and saying, okay, he's got some strengths regarding this one, but I did quite like Jim's idea because when you're looking at you're looking at the fact that Senesi is available on a free. It definitely seems to be one of these deals that I suppose with this one, if he's available on the free, the difficulty is going to be he's going to have a lot of options, and if there's going to be a battle, if you're Senesi, what option do you take? If Liverpool are seriously interested, it might be quite difficult depending on what the situation is with their club. And obviously, they haven't had the best season this season, but you feel that Liverpool quite often under Klopp actually Liverpool have a very good season, drop off a bit. I'm expecting Liverpool to bounce back next season. I don't think they're going to have no. That some of the players they signed will be uh, a bit stronger next season. They will be a bit more suited to they will be a bit more experienced in the Premier League. And whether actually I don't even know if Slot's going to be there, but I think Liverpool will be a better team next season. And maybe Senesi would be looking at that, thinking it could be a good option. Manchester United a little bit unpredictable. We don't even know who our head coach is going to be. We don't know how the squad's going to cope with all these extra games, and it might be that situation. It does seem to be also that we have to look at the rumours with Barcelona as well, and it seems that he wants to see if he's got an option to go to Barcelona. It does seem to be that in terms of Barcelona, this is like a good option as well because he'd probably be suited quite well to their league. And again, it does suit kind of Barcelona's financial situation. So the difficulty with this one is I do think that Manchester United should be looking at these sort of deals, but I don't know if Manchester United are going to be able to get this sort of deal over the line, if that makes sense, because I think there's going to be a lot of clubs looking at free transfers. So if it came to a situation where yes, sometimes if you're looking at Murillo, I think it'd be more likely Man United could get that sort of player because they would traditionally pay decent money for transfers. It is pretty difficult to see if that this is a difficult situation. If you're looking at where do you go, then where does Murillo go? Like maybe Barcelona is considered a slightly preferable option, given that you know the league won't be quite as physical. It won't. Maybe you can actually see him suiting there. I don't know. Also, you got a team that is doing well in Europe. Generally, it could be a good option. So let's go through a few of the comments as well. So please get your questions in as well. Also, please subscribe if you're new. And I keep saying this, if you can share the stream, it massively helps. So if you guys have two good ball playing centre halves and Leicester in the middle, it could work for you guys. It is one, isn't it? For I think Man United at the moment, our defence is very much like trying to get certain partnerships to work, and a lot of people are probably looking at Aiden Heaven and Yoro as the future, but thinking in the meantime, okay, they are the future against Chelsea because no one else is available. But long term, if all our centre backs are available, a lot of people are thinking, maybe we can pair Lissandro Martinez with Aiden Heaven, or maybe Harry Maguire with Yoro is quite a good combination. And we'll probably be looking at this as well, thinking actually who would be a good combination with Lenny Yoro? Are we looking for someone that's going to be a lot more physical, better in the air? That's something we might be looking at. And then maybe Senesi is someone that would be good alongside Aiden Heaven. I think actually Aiden Heaven is a very good ball playing centre half as well. He is someone that did play I think he played CDM at, say, in the academy at Arsenal. So I think it's definitely a scope for that as well. Yeah, one of the things this does also like bring to light is when we're doing these transfer streams and looking at news, it does keep highlighting that there's literally, yeah, it feels a little bit like when you solve one issue or you talk about one deal done, it's like extras open up. We had a conversation about a week ago, or I think it was about a week ago when Harry Maguire got the contract extension, and you look at that and think, okay, that's one centre back that's staying at the club. But you look at the other issues around the club and think, actually, we still need more centre backs. It wasn't about, if you think about it a year ago, Evans and Lindelof left. They didn't play a lot of games, but they were cover. When we played 2 games a week, 3 games in like 9 or 10 days, then can you imagine if we had to play, say, midweek and we had to play on the weekend, given that we've only got Heaven and Euro available and we've literally got no backups in midfield. We're down to just, at the moment, it's just Agate and Casemiro. Hopefully, Kobe Mainoo's free. He's back from injury on the weekend. but it is literally down to like there's no options, is there? There's no backup players. So I think at the moment, I don't think I don't think we actually can be too choosy with some of these deals. We have to look at it and go, okay, we have to try and get a couple of. I would like to see Man United try and get one or two deals done relatively quickly, just to get the ball rolling. We said this with if you're going to buy say two or three midfielders, why not get one deal done quite soon? Like we're getting to the stage where there's only a handful of games left. Get a deal done, get some players in. Whether no, if Manchester United wanted Hackney in January or they wanted him in the summer, they should have got him in January. There was a deal to be done there. And if we're looking at this, we can start agreeing with players. Now, I think that the issue with Senesi might well be that it's a bit like Mark Gahey. Unless there's an offer on the table that is the best offer he thinks he's going to get, it's probably going to be waiting on other teams. I don't know if this is a negative for fans because often we've had this conversation in the past, haven't we? That if a player doesn't want to join Manchester United, do you think that's going to be an issue? So is this stream about United trying to pick cherries in the forest? That's a good one, isn't it? It does seem to be actually. Have you noticed that it seems to be Manchester United are linked with certain clubs quite a lot, and at the moment we're linked with Bournemouth players a lot. We seem to be also linked to Bournemouth's manager as well, and that's something that it seems like every other day we talk about similar sort of things. But at the moment, I think you're right, Stephanie. I think we're linked to loads. Can you imagine being a Bournemouth fan? And it's a little bit like Brentford last season. It felt like Brentford was like this animal that was like a carcass at the end of it, where everyone was picking bits off. Like the manager went, they lost. I think they lost coaches. They lost their operating officer. They lost half their first team. They lost Wissa and Buemo. So I think how are Brentford doing so well this season? They literally had everybody stealing their players and taking their manager. And I think at the moment, what we're seeing with this is that we're looking at Bournemouth quite a lot. And Bournemouth had the same issue last season. They lost three of their back four. They responded quite well as well. And now we're seeing Man United are linked to Krupi. We're linked to, I think, Scott in midfield. We're linked to Senesi. And these players are likely to leave the club. The manager's going to leave as well. And so Bournemouth are going to be. Semenyu's gone. We keep forgetting that. And somehow Bournemouth still, they don't fall apart quite as badly as people are expecting. Brentford have amazing scouts. They have to, don't they? They have to. I think Bournemouth actually as well. Bournemouth are probably very, very similar. Jim says free is rarely free. Yeah, I would say for people that watch football, they kind of know the situation, don't they? That a free transfer probably costs like 15, 20 million because you're going to have the salary is going to be higher than you would pay normally on a transfer that's not free. There will be like sign-on bonuses. There will be other added costs as well. Agents going to obviously take some sort of incentive, but no, the free transfers are probably just cheaper deals. Like I'm trying to think how much the Cavani deal ended up costing, but they quite often you have to start at least 10 million. There's no such thing as a free transfer really. But what you're seeing is that it's not going to be crazy amounts of money, but it would be like a lot cheaper deal. But you're right, Jim. It's not free in the sense of it costing no money. It will cost a decent bit of money, and over the course of the deal, like you'll have to pay him more because there's no transfer fee, so the player will benefit to that extent. That's why if you're looking at Barcelona and not having the money to spend big on transfer fees, it might work out quite well. Yeah, that was my guess actually as well, Stephanie, that Yoram Murillo might be a good complementary partnership. Just a quick question about Marcus Rashford, and I haven't heard anything different apart from everybody's expecting that deal to go through, and I don't think anyone's expecting anything else other than it eventually happening. I think it's one of these situations where he's pretty much, as I say that, there's an article as well. I think Clive might be referring to the same story. There is apparently, and thanks Boba for posting this update. So I'll have to look at this source. So Marcus Rashford is reportedly open to returning to Manchester United The club won't discuss the issue publicly as they currently focused on guaranteeing return to the Champions League. I, yeah, this is a difficult one because, yeah, what can I say about the situation is it seemed to be like the relationship between player and club broke down quite a lot. And it's almost like he wanted to leave. Manchester United were looking to move on. And Manchester United are looking to replace Rashford with quite a lot. You know, they're going to spend quite a bit of money looking for a left winger. I don't know if the relationship can be restored. I honestly, this is one where I would have said, up until now, I'd say it seems massively unlikely that if he doesn't go to Barcelona, I honestly don't know what the deal is. I've seen stories that there's links to. I think there was links to AC Milan, and there's a lot of stories coming out which talk about Rafael Leao, and he's fallen out with the club. He would be quite expensive. There's a very high release clause for Rafael Leao, but apparently a deal could be done for a much lower price. I mean, I think he was a player that definitely a couple of years ago everybody was talking about him. He might be available quite reduced price. I don't know, but also that does coincide with the form not being so good. I don't know what if fans would be interested in Rafael Leao. They certainly were a few years ago. But that he's at the stage where I think the fans are actually booing him recently, and it seems that things are falling out. So I don't know whether there is a scope for Manchester United to try and get him if the prices like drop down to. He's still obviously got some ability. But there is question bits over injuries, so I suppose that it's not the best option probably. And I know that AC Milan were interested in Rashford a year ago, so maybe that's an option. Paris Saint-Germain rumored to be interested in Rashford. So I think Rashford might be. I suppose Rashford has to stay this, doesn't he? He has to. But honestly, if we're going to guess, who knows? Who knows? Like, who knows where Rashford ends up? We think Barcelona is the obvious destination, but there isn't a person, there isn't a football fan that I don't think at all on any sort of media that actually really trust Barcelona. I saw a comment saying, "Yeah, you can't trust until the deal's done. Barcelona are like the worst club to deal with, aren't they? But with Real Madrid, if they want your players, they just no, like the deals we've done with Real Madrid have been very straightforward. The Barcelona deals have been a massive mess, both sides. If you're trying to sell them a player, it's a big problem. If you're trying to buy a player from them, it's literally it's just so frustrating. That's why when Rashford was linked to Barcelona, I was like, this is literally the worst news we could have because it might happen, but it might take so long and be so protracted. Big up to you, Elliot, my man. Good to see you. It's been some time. I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're good. And let me know what you're thinking regarding these transfers. The situation is pretty tricky, isn't it? You're saying United can have Gakpo. I don't think Liverpool. Has there been? This is the question then. Has there been a player move from Liverpool to Manchester United? Directly move? I mean, I don't think so in our lifetime. It's possible it might happen, but a player moving, I'm not trying to think like Michael Owen went through Real Madrid and Newcastle. We've got Paul Ince going to Inter Milan. Man United and Liverpool will not do deals, but there's no way we'll do a deal with Liverpool. And that's not nothing to do with the player, like nothing to do with the player, but there's literally no way that Manchester United and Liverpool do business. Elliot's saying you take Rashford back. It's it'll be a tricky one, wouldn't it? For if it did happen, then honestly, I do not. I know the fans would be. What's the best way? The fans would be massively divided about that one. I'll put that one. I'll try and be on the fence a little bit. Welcome, Jude, to the chat as well. Good to see you. So the way the United owners operate, if Carrick gets the job, Rashford return fits, then yeah, I suppose with this one, then do you think with this one that are Manchester United considering keeping? I look at the stories and look at and I think to be honest, every single day I see a story about Michael Carrick. Do you know what I saw this morning regarding Michael Carrick? Just to put it out there, I saw I didn't read the article, but the headline was Michael Carrick has 3 games to save his job. That was it. And I was thinking, well, you don't normally get sacked from an interim position. You're literally there to the end of the season anyway. And then the job isn't yours. You probably have to re-interview for the job. That would be the situation. And so you look at that and go, okay, but I think what it means is, and this is kind of my reading of this, is Manchester United fans will probably have a different view on Michael Carrick after every single game. Okay, some people will change their opinions and change them slightly, but Manchester United fans will probably have a different opinion as a group. No, some people will definitely not change their minds. It's just going to depend on what happens. Like I said, if we play Chelsea and we beat them, there's going to be a very different look at the league table. If we lose badly, yeah, I think Berber, you're probably right to take that stance that it's probably best not to comment. I'm not going to comment anymore. It's bit of so welcome back to people on the channel as well. Please, as always, like share if you can. When I saw this comment, Rob, I was saying it's good that everybody's coming back to the channel, but I was also thinking, but it's not no, as long as the people aren't coming back to Manchester United, we thought we're out the door. That would be a bad one, but no. In terms of the channel, great to see so many people coming in. Also, massive welcome to the newcomers as well. That are people that I've been watching a couple of channels, and Liverpool fans will probably be from Fozzy TV, who's a top guy as well. At the moment, I'm kind of unable to redirect, so I want to. I used to regularly like raid different channels I knew, and I can't do that at the moment. But we're going to get back up there very quickly, and I can raid G Wolf, I can raid Ryan, I can raid Fozzy TV, and other guys. So Jim says there's an article on X saying Manchester United close to completing Carlos Baleba, with Brighton agreed to lower the price from 100 to 50 million. So Carl anchors the source. Right now, I don't know the source either. It'd be interesting to check that out and see where that journalist is from. Where exactly? I would look at that and say Brighton lowering the price to 50 million sounds a bit of a no. It doesn't sound like the sort of thing that Brighton would do. But I did read an article yesterday about the transfers that Brighton have tried to get done in the past that didn't work out, and they maybe have regretted it. With particularly looking at trying to think who it was, um, not Evan Nielsen, but who's the other one? But the striker that was 100 million. There's definitely cases where Brighton do overprice price players, and so yeah. Cody's saying Anchor's quite credible, but 50 million is too good to be true. If you share it in the Discord, I can look at it because there will be one or two midfield stories I'm going to cover this evening when Dylan comes on the channel and we do a group stream then. So I will look at that. If there is like scope for Belieber to be a 50 million deal, honestly, that's kind of interesting because it definitely the interest hasn't gone away. And you look at Manchester United's interest in midfield options, like Richie Rios is a story I've seen re-emerge as well today. And I think what we're going to see is United, you know, we're going to spend quite big on one midfielder, but if Belieber costs 50 million, I think he starts like getting back up the shortlist a little bit. And I think United will, they haven't really, I don't think Manchester United have really publicly softened too much on certain targets. They're not really ruling anybody out. So it's again, it might be that at the moment we don't have a hard and set price for someone like an Angela Stiller. We don't know how much he's going to. Nice one, Jim. I'll check that out, and we can look at that later on today, I think. But 50 million for Belieber. Do you know what I've said? All the transfers were linked to. My view on these transfers, it definitely changes a little bit when you look at the transfer fee. When we're looking at him being maybe like 90, 100 million, people go, whoa, okay. But no, it's a bit like Murillo. I think he's a very good player. 70 million is a huge amount of money, isn't it? Can Manchester United, like, I know when we're looking at left-sided players, does anybody else feel it was surprising that Manchester United, considering, I think considering Manchester United don't have any midfield options, like we're literally down to the last players available. why in January were we prioritizing Semenya? Like Semenya is a good player, like he's a really good player, but Semenya is not going to help us when we got no midfielders. I find it surprising that when Man United start talking about big expenditure, have we got more money to spend than we realise, or are we just prioritising the wrong thing? That I know they've said in the past that if something that someone they see as like being a too good not to buy option comes up, they'll go for it. But yeah, for me it's not ideal. I don't think. But yeah, I will look at that just to clarify, Jim. I will look into that one because that could be a good talking point. I mean, I've not spoken to Dylan for a long time, but it might be good to kind of refresh what he's thinking. He also, if you don't know Dylan from last summer as well, when we were talking about transfers, he was like spot on with Agate. He was like, "Why are we signing Agate? PSG are getting a better player. We're actually facilitating that deal by handing them the money." And he was spot on, like really good opinions on some of these players. And Tabas is saying Senesi plus Murillo is a great deal. Maybe I should have put an option in the chat. I should have put an option to say try and get them both. But if we try to get them both, then just as a best guess, just like a guess to people in the comments, if Manchester United were going to get both these players, and given that okay, Murillo's been talked up by Forest as going to cost say 70 million, right? I don't know if I don't know if that's going to be the actual cost is going to be. Um, I suppose the price tag for Gahey a year ago or 18 months ago was 70, was it 75 million that Crystal Palace wanted? In the end, they got a fraction of that. So it might be that Nottingham Forest, I think the price tag's too high. And I don't think that's going to. No, this is the Dylan that I know is from Cork in Ireland, from Roy Keane country. He's a massive Manchester United fan, but he's no, he's been a regular guest, maybe not so much this year because he's been quite busy, but he was certainly a kind of key guest towards like transfer stories. When we were talking about Agate and we're talking about I think the De Ligt, Masraoui era, when we were doing transfers, that sort of transfer window, he was very active on the channel then. Now, my question is going to be is if Manchester United go for both of these, and I do agree with Stephanie that it's probably the De Ligt future which is probably driving the interest here. That I think Man United possibly maybe 6 months ago, the conversation was going to be Lissandro Martinez comes back, and he came back in January, and then you look at what else is going to happen regarding say De Ligt, Maguire, and I think people, myself included, thought that if Manchester United extend Maguire's contract, they might think, okay, that's it, that's it done for that's defence done for maybe this window. Let's spend the big money on midfield. That was genuinely what I thought, and then now I'm looking at it thinking, like Lissandro Martinez is he's still picking up injuries and he's still missing game time. I mean, the sending off is that's not going to make any decision. No, it's not going to change the decision of his long-term future. But I think that his availability and injuries will be. I think De Ligt is the key here. I think most people saw De Ligt as maybe being a player that comes in and Maguire moves on. I think that's what people thought. So, but my question was going to be, if Manchester United can get both these players, like literally both of them, then big up to you, Clive. Thanks for calling by again. Now, if Manchester United are going to buy both of these players, how much money are we going to have to spend? Like, is it going to be something similar to? Do you remember when Manchester United got De Ligt and we got Masraoui? We thought we got a good deal financially, but De Ligt's injury issues may be making it not such a good deal. If United could get Senesi and get Murillo, how much would you be happy with spending? I mean, to be honest, it's about getting quality into the team. United do have to spend a lot this summer, so I'm not overly concerned about how much we spend. My thoughts really going to be that I think Murillo, 70 million, it feels like a lot of money. If Manchester United think he's going to be a very good fit, then I mean we're talking about similar sort of money that we spent on Benjamin Sesko, and we're looking at similar. I think similar sort of money to to Cunha and Buemo. And obviously, those players were upgrades on what we had, and you need to keep doing that. I'd say Murillo is a very good player. I mean, Nottingham Forest fans will say nothing but positivity about him. They rate him, like I said, they rate him as highly as Anderson in terms of like a key player this season. And if Manchester United are looking to try and effectively raid Forest, then they're the two players that kind of stand out in terms of players you'd get. If we could get them both for like 65, 70 million, is that going to be, is that going to be good? A good deal? Um, Beatrice Jarvis, he says, Senesi is obviously the better deal unless Forest get relegated and Murillo has some sort of buyout clause. That's a really good point, actually. I have to check the league table, but it does look like Forest are going to be. I think that with the implosion of Spurs, it looks like Forest will probably be fine. But there's definitely going to be. And I saw this argument as well that Spurs, some of the Spurs' better players, they're playing like they've got relegation release clauses, aren't they? They're playing like they're just going to leave Spurs next season. I would say that there was definitely rumours that there was a clause in Anderson's contract that no European football would reduce the transfer fee or actually trigger some sort of release clause. And it could be that, given the status of Nottingham Forest, then it would be reasonable to assume there might be these sort of clauses in there because they were fighting relegation not that long ago. I mean, last season was very good, but the year before that. So it could be. That's a good point, actually, Jarvis. I think a lot of it won't be known, will it? And maybe that means that the story I saw that I mentioned early on in the stream, where you're looking at again, I don't think it's incredibly likely, but it is being discussed about, and that's like Murillo possibly being linked to Barcelona. So if I just put that back up on screen, and it does say as well that apparently that Murillo's people or group are kind of like thinking you should probably say it might be better to stay in the Premier League. And I guess given what happens with Barcelona, it might be a good idea like, to just go to a Premier League option if you got that. But no, relegation is going to be. I mean, I'll have to check the league table because it does seem to change week on week, but no one's picking up too many points at the moment. So no, if Nottingham Forest got relegated, then maybe we're going to see. Like, I think with Anderson, it's going to be really interesting to see. That everybody thinks, well, lots of people think that Anderson is looking at Man City and wants to go there. That might be the case. Then it's going to be difficult for United to get them. But if that's not the case, then all the power is with him. Nice one, Jude. Appreciate that. Welcome, Bilal. I think the stream's fine from my point of view. Yeah, I don't mention those words on here. No, so let's go through some of this one. So Senesi is definitely free. Yeah, definitely free. I'm just saying that there might a free is it still does cost a little bit, but I would guess given that what Manchester United paid, say Lindelof and Evans, and I mean I think this Manchester United salary like they'd offer Senesi would be absolutely fine. I think he would be definitely one where you think it feels a little bit like close to a no-brainer, doesn't it? That where you start looking at like a player and think actually you need someone that's going to be at this point in time. Can you get a player in that is going to be at least a solid Premier League defender? Because that's kind of what we need in terms of we're going to play lots of European games next season. Pretty much, it must be pretty much guaranteed now, even if it's Europa League. It must, and I think it must be getting close to being that so many teams qualify. When we were about, we must have been about I don't know, we are 7 points ahead of Chelsea or something like that. So as long as we don't lose badly to Chelsea on the weekend, we're getting pretty close to the line. And maybe what we're looking at now is like we need a bit. I've said this as well. Obviously, you need quality, but you got to need a little bit of depth, haven't you? You need a bit of depth. So Barcelona, yeah, Barcelona, they have the most bizarre financial situation I've ever seen. With like they're selling future revenue, aren't they? In terms of like, so I think with Barcelona, if I was a football player, then I don't know. It's a bit risky for some players possibly going there, but also they've had so many different things in the past where players go there and they can't register them, or they can't. There's added complexity, but also I'm not sure. I'm guessing that Barcelona historically do offer pretty big salaries. If money is a motivating factor, there is possibly that. But I think Murillo is too good that he would have some good options in the Premier League and that would definitely be paying a big salary. But I do appreciate if you look at it financially, then it's a no-brainer. It's interesting. Like I think Wizard Better's actually a bit ill still today because he was posting a few comments when we were talking about these players, and I think the Senesi weaknesses were probably aerial duels, something that he wasn't particularly great with. I think Jarvis talked about this as well. And I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was something like 50-50. He wins. So it's one where like when you look at some of the players, there's definitely positives about certain centre backs we got. And I think people will look at Maguire and say Maguire would have been a good player to play against Leeds because he would have dealt with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He'd have won that aerial battle and also the physical battle he'd have been up for. And I think when we're looking at Senesi, he doesn't have to come in and be Harry Maguire. Maybe he has to play alongside a different defender, but also it's about depth and cover, isn't it? Like De Ligt's injured. We don't know when he's coming back. And I think that's kind of forcing Manchester United's hand. If I was United now, then I said this in January. We made a big mistake in January by essentially what we've done in January is we've gambled that every single football player is not going to get injured and every single first team player is not going to get any suspension. And as soon as we see Dorgu injured, then yeah, we're down to limited options on that side. We see one centre back sent off. Suddenly we've run out of options. But it's just one player. You have one midfielder have a knock. Suddenly we've got no midfield options. This is probably since the 80s. I've been watching United. This is probably the thinnest squad I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen a situation where there is only one credible goalkeeper, one credible striker, the midfield options are we've got three in midfield. We've only got three players that are good enough to play those positions. All the backups are frankly not really good enough for Premier League football. Like Bayern, Agate, they're not. I wouldn't drop them in any team and think they're going to do well. So I think that we are kind of limping towards Champions League football, but I think it's pretty predictable, isn't it? That we took this gamble and it's not. It's a bit bad. So yeah, aerial duels. It was 48%, something like that, wasn't it, Jarvis? But that's kind of looking for one weakness. If you look at any football player, you can find one weakness. I would say when we played against Bournemouth, then you look at other issues, and I'm just trying to think: do we get loads of joy in the air? I'm not sure. I think Amber was causing a lot of problems running directly at them, and we were passing through them quite well. But no, it is one factor, and it's not great stat, but it is just one part of the defensive abilities. And say, but I'm going to talk at the positives now to be balanced. And Jarvis is 100% correct that one of the reasons they're looking at him is in terms of passing ability, out from the back, something which Alessandro Martinez does help massively. If you consider Manchester United looking to be more of a possession-based team, also we are expecting to try and have some sort of level of control over games in the future as we get better quality players in the team, and that's something that would be useful as well. Alessandro Martinez is getting to the stage where one more big injury and you have to start looking at what is the future of the club. And I think United are looking at that and thinking he's got the passing ability. It's pretty similar to the level of Sandro Martinez. Don't forget, I suppose, you also have to compare that Alessandro Martinez playing for Manchester United over the years it will be a better team than Nottingham Forest a lot of the time. And if you're looking at this season, when players, I've said this a few times, when you see teams struggling badly, and Nottingham Forest have struggled quite badly this season, when you see the performance level of Anderson, considering what he's got to do, fighting fires a lot of the time, he's got to cover a lot of ground, he's got to win the ball back a lot. Nottingham Forest haven't been playing well. And when you look at him performing that well in a weakish team, that kind of tells you what you need to know. He's up for the fight. He's a good football player. And I think that's why I've been quite impressed by some of the players that at Nottingham, at West Ham. I think they've got a good mix of like some quality there, but the team is struggling. And I think United would be, well advised to try and at least get some of these players. I don't know if I said hello when you joined the chat, but welcome United till I die. Good to see you as well. And say another season of Maguire and Shaw and Dallo. It's almost like the same, isn't it? It's almost the same. Yeah, you have to mention Dallo. It is pretty much like when I've been looking at some stories, it does seem to be that for whatever reason, United seem to be trying to push back any sort of what's the word? Any sort of spend on defense to like next season. That's what has felt like. When we're looking at left backs, we tried to buy a left back from Sheffield Wednesday, who eventually went to Chelsea. We are linked to other left backs as well, but we're linked to quite young up and coming left backs, and it feels a little bit like Manchester United, or it's a little like Chicago Bulls in probably what year was it they won, that 1998, 1999, it feels a little bit like they're going to do one more dance and go, right, one more season where we have Luke Shaw, we have Harry Maguire, and you just think, okay, right, well, they're going to upgrade midfield, but it looks like the defense is going to have to wait another year. A bit frustrating, and it's pretty annoying, I think. And I still can't believe that we've had a situation where Luke Shaw started every single game. I just can't see that happening next season, and United will definitely regret it, won't we? If we don't make some upgrades and get some defensive options, we're gonna. Can you imagine Man United having to rock up to the Bernabeu and go, right? Luke Shaw is injured, so we're gonna have to play someone that basically just doesn't start, or we're gonna have to hope Harry Mask can cope, or we're going to have to push another player into the left back situation, or we're going to play Mazraoui there or Dallo there, and then look at our centre back situation and think, actually, we're down to the bare bones with that one. Yeah, we will suffer quite badly if we don't make these upgrades. And I'm not actually here saying we need to spend crazy money. You just need to do some sensible deals. But who remembers Lindelof? Yeah, does Lindelof play for Aston Villa? I mean, I remember him, but my point was going to be that when Manchester United played Europa League football on a Thursday and then the Premier League on the weekend, then okay, Lindelof is there as a body, isn't he? If we have some injuries, you can put Lindelof on. Okay, it's not ideal, but it's better than having better than reshuffling it. We played Agate in centre back recently, so uh, that's obviously an improvement. But no, Lindelof was there as a squad player, and no one's going to say he was first choice all the time. But he could come on, and it was another person. We actually reduced our squad a little bit too much, and yeah, I'm looking at this and going, Casemiro can't play centre back anymore. Not because like there's two reasons. One, it's definitely doesn't work out well. The other one is we literally have no midfielders. So that and it seemed. Do you remember when I used to talk about Manchester United having no left back for about a year, despite the fact we had about four at the club at one point and we got rid of all of them and we kept Luke Shaw, who was then injured. And now we have a situation where that if we're going to move players on, we need to look at moving on some of the injury-prone players, and we need to be a bit ruthless, and we need to actually make sure that this. Yeah, there's no point talking about Lindelof, but yeah, the positives though are you're in heaven. That is a positive, and it's for me. It's about like if we're sat here looking at our defense, and I don't know what people's view is, but do you look at this and think, you're in heaven. It feels like Manchester United have identified two players. Whether or not it works out or not, we've picked two players we think might be a future centre back pairing at Manchester United. But the ages of these two players are 19 and 20. And nobody sat here thinks, right, this is the future of Manchester United. It's not the present of Manchester United in terms of, we're not going to say next season, let's start heaven and Euro all the time. I have seen some journalists that say we should do that and iron out the cracks, but I think that could be very, very dangerous. I think what you need to do is you need to look at this and go, you're in heaven could well be the future of Manchester United. I don't know. I like a lot of the things that these two players can do, but I do think that you need to. You almost like needed to do this, like say 2 years earlier, maybe like say 2 or 3 years earlier, when Maguire was a few years younger, Lindelof was a few years younger. We could have bought players like Kevin and Yoro then, not necessarily those players, but you get my point that we should have started bringing in the next generation of players a little bit sooner. Like Luke Shaw, we should have got Luke Shaw's successor in a few years ago. Alvaro Fernandez should have got more opportunities and should have been our left back. And we kind of made these mistakes, and now we've made these mistakes. We have to actually buy some experience in, and it feels like the when I first saw the Senesi story, it's going back about 6 months now, I think. When I first saw the story, I didn't realize he was available on the free to start with, and I was thinking, okay, right, well, it's good that there's lots of positives about the Premier League experience. And when you find out he's available on the free, you think, Manchester United should just get involved with this because they do need to actually try and get these done. As Jarvis says, ruthless. I quite like I'm going to say this. I quite like the idea of a 2 year rule where Manchester United sign you, you're probably going to get a contract that's what 4 years or 5 years plus one. I think we gave Cunha and Buemo, but it's pretty much if in 2 years you haven't proved your value to the club, and you could say like with Anana, I would have probably gone like 1 year was enough, and I think with Boyendier, I would have also said 1 year was enough. But if you look at other players, Xerxes been here 2 years, then okay, he could have played more games. But I think we've seen enough examples of whether he's going to be a player that we want to keep and build around. And the same with Agate. I think Agate, we've seen enough now. We've seen a couple of different managers. We've seen a decent amount of games for Agate. We kind of know what, and if anything, I think he might be regressing. I don't know whether it's just that there must be something beyond football going on there because he looked actually better, I think, a year ago. So, and I think Manchester United need to just be ruthless and go, okay, right, 2 years, and this is where it's kind of difficult to have the same rule with regarding like a youngster, like say Aiden Heaven. I will say this: the 2 year rule is pretty ruthless. Like Jarvis, I agree. But I think it does need to happen because you need to maintain standards. If you come to Manchester United, you need to be improving. If you're a younger player, the idea is that you do improve. I think the only time you can give a bit of leeway is if a player comes like very, very early on in their career, and that's where Aiden Heaven came on. He came out of the academy very early on. So when you're looking at that situation, I would say, right, with Aiden Heaven, it's very much a case of the coaches have got to work with him, and you see progress behind the scenes a little bit regarding that one. And then I think I've seen enough on the pitch to suggest he's potentially got a good future. And I would say that's where you've got to see with players that are younger. I think a bit more patience. But what you might see is, they're not going to play every single match. It's not really the best case. That's not really the best idea. But I think that the 2 year plan though is perfectly reasonable. That if you can think of an example of this is kind of the question sometimes I ask that can you think of any example of a player that's joined Manchester United and has been poor for 2 years and then suddenly completely taken off. Because I would say that all the players I think of that maybe like, examples of players that started off slow, like you could say Evra was one, even like Yapstam had a few issues initially. David De Gea had a couple of issues initially. I would say once you've taken like say 6 months at the club, then you see big improvements. I can't think of many examples where a player, if it doesn't work out straight away, you got a bit. And I can't think of examples where they've had two poor seasons and then suddenly kicked on. So the 2 year rule for me is is pretty fair. I mean, it gives you a lot of games time, a lot of opportunities to prove yourself and take that chance. I would say like there is a bit of speculation with the Agate deal that super agent Mendes was involved, and sometimes there's other factors involved that I can't remember if Manchester United actually bought any other players that are represented by that agent, but sometimes it feels a bit like I think Agate is going to go, and I get the feeling Agate might be one of these players that keeps moving around. Like no one knows where he's going to go, but I think he's going to keep changing clubs. Welcome, Luca talks Arsenal. So, who says Murillo would be a good signing. Yeah, he would be a good signing, 100%. Say Fernandez, that's it. Bruno Fernandez was good for like no, Bruno Fernandez was good to start with. Like any player that was bad for 2 years and then actually because like two years is a long time, isn't it? And Ryan says not for 2 years, say sink or swim, and they all ended. Yeah, mostly the players have sunk recently, but I think in the past, and there's been more examples in the past of players that hit the ground running, like Van Persie, like Bruno Fernandes did, like Van Nistelrooy, and we had a lot of examples where and maybe the only example where Manchester United bought a player that was very young and who was yet to hit their prime was Cristiano Ronaldo. But I think Cristiano Ronaldo made massive steps up in a couple of years. If you compare Garnacho to Cristiano Ronaldo in their first full season at Manchester United, and look at the difference between those two players. If you fast forward 2 years, Ronaldo took off, and Garnacho, I don't see any improvement at all. Like the difference in improvement and the speed of improvement is way, way different. That's why I'm kind of a little bit concerned about Alma. I don't see there's a I don't see there being massive improvements a lot. So post to Alex, players that worked out. Bruno Wamata, Zlatan was quality actually. Zlatan was quality. Even Cristiano Ronaldo got a lot of goals. So yeah, no life jackets exactly. Yeah, it's crazy how much money we've wasted, isn't it? So I've got a poll running to gauge opinion. What I might do is I might close the poll and see what people are thinking and see what people's views are. And but as always, get questions in. It looks like despite the price tag, then I think a lot of people are looking for what they see as the best possible player to get. So Murillo's got 62% of the vote. Senesi gets 38. I mean, it's not a landslide, but it does show that people are looking at, if you're looking at one or the other, it would be interesting to see if we did a poll where we said, like, would you get both of them? Then I suppose this one is going to be football fans are probably inherently a bit greedy and we kind of want to get as many players in as possible. But would it be worth getting in two defenders if like would that limit that would we then have to sacrifice getting a different player on a different position? United side dice that you want to see Wilcox and Omar Brada gone. I think most people maybe this is something that I've seen a bit recently regarding people talking about football. Do you get the feeling that there's actually a lot more confidence in somebody like like Vavell because of he's been predominantly in charge of everybody's thinking that his role is going to be looking at how the team's constructed, looking at which players are bringing in. I think ultimately, given the situation regarding hiring a director of football, then sacking him, and then hiring managers and having to replace them mid-season, they kind of all need to step up a little bit regarding their planning. And I think that's why when we're looking at the head coach situation, I was going to say manager, but when we're looking at the head coach situation, I think they're just not sure at the moment what the best thing to do is, and maybe it's a good thing they're taking a bit of time. It could be that they're not sure what the best option is. So yeah, I would yeah, I'm kind of the same. I don't have any trust in So, for example, I don't have any trust in Jim Radcliffe in terms of I don't really know what his intentions are, and I'm kind of skeptical that they're for the best of the club, and I think they might be profit related. I don't like Manchester United trying to brag about reducing the wage bill. I want to see Manchester United actually signing players and boosting our club. That there's no. Can you imagine in the 90s if Manchester United had said, right, we're not going to get Dwight York, we're not going to get Yapstam, we're just going to keep the squad we got, and we're going to reduce the wage bill, and no one would be happy with that. Can you imagine a 1999 team saying, look, we've got We've got Andy Cole, we've got Dwight York, we've got Sheringham, we've got Solskjaer. We don't need all those strikers. We'll probably get rid of one. You need to have as much as possible. You need to try and stockpile quality. Look at the two teams in the Premier League that are winning things at the moment. And Manchester City, they're operating like Manchester United did 30 years ago. They're at the top and they're buying the best players possible to try and stay there. They're looking at Man City are looking at all positions of their club, from like midfielders, attacking players, goalkeeper, and they're just buying more of them. The fact they invested massive in an attacking player and a midfielder and a defender recently, you look at that, and they got one of the best goalkeepers in the world. They got two very good goalkeepers at the club, and this is kind of what Man United are competing with. So we're looking at kind of, oh, can we save some money here? But we need to actually be going out and building our squad up very quickly. I say, not to mention Jim. Yeah, no, if Jim says something, then Jim's about as well. Jim's the only person I can think of that's less popular than Gary Neville, and if he says something, it doesn't matter what Jim says, people will be angry and don't like it anyway. So Jim Radcliffe is he's one of these things that he's one of these people that if he says something, it's just going to make people angry. So there's no point in talking about it. Imagine getting midfielders that complement our forwards. Yeah, imagine actually fixing one of the most important part of the team, like finally getting midfield players in that we need. So we will get Champions League football, and now it's up to them to bring in. You know, they need to bring in a new head coach, and I think the issue is going to be the team has probably performed about as well as expected. If Manchester United are currently sitting in third in the Premier League, given the relative strengths of the squads, I don't think you could have expected loads more. That's kind of for me that's a ceiling, isn't it? I was guessing at the start of the season that we could maybe get Europa League football. If Manchester United actually get Champions League football, then I think the squad is probably. I know we're not going to be happy with lots of the results, and it's disappointing, but I don't think the squad was going to be. No, we weren't going to be in a title race, were we? So I think if we finished third or fourth, that would probably represent about as good as the team's going to be able to accomplish. The difficulty is going to be is we would if we get third in the league, I'm going to say we've been very lucky in terms of we didn't invest in January. Most people did. I think Manchester United might have got away with it. The fact that we could make 10 players leave the club, we bring four in, we make no signings in January. If we get say third in the Premier League, then we need to like just go right. We need to invest massively now because we probably got lucky that all the teams that we're going to finish above, they've been inconsistent. They're not going to be as inconsistent next season. Not all of them. I say one positive from Arteta's reign at Arsenal is so virtually all the team from the cup final win over Chelsea 6 years ago and moved on. Only Saka remains, who was a sub of that day, and none of them have lifted a trophy, have they? None of them have lifted a trophy at Arsenal since that day. It is crazy, isn't it? That I'm not gonna be like, oh, let's sack Arteta. I mean, I don't. It's Arsenal's problem, but you would look at it and say, can you imagine a manager, a Manchester United going like 6 years without a trophy? Like, has that ever happened? Like, without the manager being sacked? I'm just trying to think. Like, Alex Ferguson started in what 86, won the FA Cup in 1990. That's 4 years, but did get second in the league a couple of years later. And then even then, like Ron Atkinson won an FA Cup as well. But I don't think that's ever happened at Manchester United. I don't think it would be allowed to happen at Liverpool. Like 6 years without a trophy, and then Man City, like 1 year without a trophy, you probably sacked the Man City. So if all the other two top six teams are firing, I doubt we would be in the top three. So no, that's why I think we got a bit lucky. I think getting third or fourth in the Premier League, we've got lucky. There's going to be a few teams that I don't think Spurs will start well next season unless they're in the Championship. They might not even be a Premier League team. So yeah, exactly. Spurs might be in the Championship. So, but to be honest, I'm kind of if Spurs do go to the Championship, I don't know what to think. That I don't know if I'd be like at the front of the queue to get some Spurs players, I'd be looking at it thinking, well, you guys didn't perform in any sort of games this season. I don't think there's going to be much of an issue. 20 likes is fantastic. I didn't have a like target on the video, but 20 likes is great. No, I appreciate that. I don't know, people can share the stream. That's something that doesn't tend to happen very often, but if you're able to share the stream, really, really helps as well. And any sort of comments post match as well. I'll probably finish fairly quickly if people got some final questions they want to talk about, get them in. I will be live tonight at 7 p.m. with Dylan. Like I said, we will be covering Manchester United news. It depends what's in the, it depends what's being discussed, what's kind of what topics come up in the afternoon. If you see something you think you need to get on that and talk about it, we will definitely cover that. And we will be trying to cover a varied kind of range of news. I think at the moment, if there's a story about Belieber costing 50 million, then I think the last time I spoke to Dylan, we were probably having conversations about should we buy Belieber for about what 112 million? Was that the crazy price it went up to? So there was a report I saw yesterday that the Glazers reportedly looking to buy Spurs. I saw something about that, and I wondered whether it was a joke. Was my first reaction. I think it was on Twitter, and I think somebody might have posted something and attached a journalist name to it. I don't know if it's true that, but regarding this, just a genuine question regarding this one. If they're serious, I think if you look at it, if you only want to make money, then you could look at these clubs and say Spurs actually do make profit. They still got big debt, but they've got a brand new stadium. They got the potential to basically rinse their fan base. They charge a lot of money to go and watch games, and the fans still turn up. And if you're looking at the situation, they couldn't buy Spurs, could they, and keep Manchester United? You wouldn't be able to own two clubs in the Premier League. I'm pretty sure that would not be allowed. And given that Manchester United, now you still make the thing is you still make profit, can't you? You can still make a lot of profit from Spurs. And would it be a problem? Like, okay, let me say another point. I'm going to find it quite funny if Spurs get relegated. Is there any chance that if they were seriously looking at trying to buy Spurs, would they be put off by them getting relegated to the Championship? I'm guessing it's a financial hit, and that they would be. But I don't know. One thing that is apparent is that the Glazers are looking at different teams to buy. They've been linked to an Indian Premier League team, IPL team, a cricket team for years. Like 4 years ago, they were looking at that as well. I did like a video on that 4 years ago. They're looking at spending quite big money on that, like over 1 billion, I believe. So the Glazers got money. Spurs might be relatively cheap. If you consider Manchester United got bought essentially by loans and borrowing, if they sold Manchester United for the sort of price they want, maybe they lower it very slightly, they could probably pick up Spurs for a fraction of that cost and then start the process again. So maybe what they're thinking is it's going to be very, very expensive. If you think about this, Spurs are already there, aren't they? Spurs are in terms of like this one. Forget Premier League football, concerts, NFL games. They've got links to the NFL. They own an NFL team. That sounds like it could be something they look at as well. And you got the London base as well. Then I mean, bad news for Spurs, but great news for Man United if that happens. I kind of hope it does happen, but there's a lot of yeah. Forget one thing. I know that Jarvis is going to take 8-10 billion. I know Ineos can't really afford it, but I'm just hoping somebody else can. That my preference would not be. I don't think I really want Ineos to take over Manchester United permanently. Based on what I've seen over the last couple of years, I think they're more focused on making money than actually winning trophies. So I would probably prefer to see when we have these stories and links with consortiums based abroad. Then, in terms of, I want owner. My main priority is I want an owner that their focus is on winning trophies. Exactly how if you look at how Abramovich was at Chelsea, pretty much determined to win everything, and okay, different reasons possibly, and you look at something along the lines of Man City, determined to win. They break every single rule, but determined to win. And say what the United Stand overlap consortium to take over United next. Oh, you're making me like no, no. It's definitely no. There is literally no at all. I saw a question from Bilal. We will be live tonight at 7 p.m. So I don't think it's going to clash with Jarvis. We will be live at 7 p.m. I'm unfortunately I'm unable to redirect because I don't have the watch hours, so I can't really send people other places. But that's something I will be able to do. Hopefully, I'm predicting at the moment it's probably going to take a couple of months unless I can find some way of boosting watch hours. But hopefully that will naturally happen. And no, that would be the worst thing possible. And Ben Jacobs says names we can rule out for the United job are Luis Enrique. Yeah, to be honest, I think I'd rule out Luis Enrique because you're at the richest club in the world. I think Luis Enrique. This is kind of my thoughts about Luis Enrique. I think Luis Enrique can maybe look at Paris Saint-Germain and try and do something that hasn't been done for not say apart from Real Madrid. He might look at the Ajax team in the 70s, the Bayern Munich team in the 70s, and go, right, can we actually put my name permanently in football history and do like three Champions Leagues in a row with Paris Saint-Germain, become a legend? I think that's what if I was Luis Enrique, I might think let's try and dominate the Champions League for a couple of seasons, win a few Champions Leagues in a row, then you kind of like your legacy is set. Then you can go somewhere else if you want to. I think that would be very, very impressive. So I'm not surprised that he's there. Also, Paris Saint-Germain would pay him so much money. If you're Luis Enrique, that didn't Mbappe get 2 million per week? It was insane amounts of money. So Luis Enrique, if you're Paris Saint-Germain, you haven't had to spend hundreds of millions on the players. You've got sensible players, sensible transfer. You keep everything as they are. Everybody hated Paris Saint-Germain a few years ago. Now they're one of the most entertaining teams in Europe. So, I mean, can you imagine, like, when you look at world football now, it's really difficult to imagine Ajax dominating football. And it's really difficult to imagine situations where, like, is it the Steaua Bucharest or Marseille or teams that win the Champions League? It's difficult to imagine. And about 5, 6 years ago, like no one would be thinking, like, can Paris Saint-Germain monopolize the competition? I think that I think Luis Enrique is like as much as I think he'd be a fantastic manager at Manchester United. I think Luis Enrique would be insane to join Manchester United at the moment. Like, can you imagine walking into Old Trafford and looking at the squad we got and thinking, "Whoa, what have I done?" We'd be paying him less as well, and we'd probably be scrutinizing him more. It would be ridiculous. Yeah, that's good news as well. That's good news. I don't think Gary Neville has been a manager. We know what decisions he makes, and we know how disastrous it is. Tonight will be, I think tonight will be 7 p.m. That's what I'm saying, Stephanie. 7 p.m. is what I've planned, and all I need to do is actually come up. All I need to do is find a new story to discuss, and that will be good to go. So that'll be it. So yeah, I'll have a look, but well, I'll check the Discord. I'll check news, but if there's genuine stories about midfielders, it might be that sort of focus because myself and Dylan haven't spoken for a few months as well. But I'll look into the Belieber story. I'll look into like the Roger story. I'll look into Richard Rios story, and we'll go something along those lines. I've talked about Nagelsmann loads. I don't think there's much more to say about Nagelsmann at the moment, unless there is actually genuine news. And at the moment, if it's Ben Jacobs, it's going to be just he's not going to say anything one way or the other. He doesn't actually know, but it is what it is. So yeah, is that the breaking news? Then I think this is definitely Nagelsmann was. I'll say this: wasn't Nagelsmann manager of Leipzig when Manchester United smashed them 4-0? Rashford got 4 goals. Nagelsmann was the manager then, wasn't he? I think Nagelsmann's obviously done well since then. What happened to Connor? Who do you mean by Connor? Do you mean if I had a guest on a few years ago that was called Connor, who was like based in the USA? If that's the person you mean, he's on my list to message next about what's been going on regarding YouTube. But he's on my list if that's the person that you're referring to. Um, yeah, Ben Jacobs with is Ben Jacobs saying all this now? I think with Ben Jacobs that he does tend to say but things that we already know, which is handy. I suppose he's not too controversial, is he? I think with Ben Jacobs, he was supposedly an expert in what's going to happen with the Saudi League. Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't know you knew him, Bilal. He's not been around for ages. Unfortunately, nothing bad, but unfortunately, there's an 8 hour time difference. It's really hard to get hold of him because if I'm streaming, say today, like say it's 2 p.m. now, then it would be 8 hours earlier would be like 6 in the morning. If I do a stream at 7 p.m., then it's going to be like 11 a.m. for him. So it's really difficult. And even when I did a stream at 10 p.m., it's like 2 p.m. in the afternoon for him. So it's very difficult. And he's quite busy with work. So I don't think that it's possible to get him on. But I'm going to message him just because, just to let him know what's going on. And if he is free sometime, then we can try and get. It's just almost impossible because of the time difference, unfortunately. Yeah, breaking news. There may be a meal consumed. That's kind of what we're hearing. There may be some food being eaten. I remember like with Ben Jacobs. What's this? Ben Jacobs should focus on his perfume brand. Can you imagine? I don't know what it would be called. Ben Jacobs makes me laugh sometimes. I think it's because like with Ben Jacobs, if you see the word breaking, and then you see a story that you literally read 2 weeks ago, and I think you just look at it and go, it's a bit like Fabrizio saying breaking news. Like, do you remember the situation regarding can't think of it, any sort of transfer? Absolutely crazy. Big up to you, Stephanie, channel legend as always. Great to get you in the comments. Also, shout out to a few people that were new in the comments today. I reconnected with a Nottingham Forest fan who was in the comments earlier, and there's a couple of fans that have actually started that joined from a Liverpool channel as well. Waffle Water, that's a good one actually. Ben Jacobs Crackers isn't bad. I do like Waffle Water. I think I can just imagine now of just doing like a really weird advert where you have essence of Ben Jacobs, and it's literally just like there's nothing to it. That's kind of the joke. There's literally nothing. There's no basis. I remember a few years ago Ben Jacobs used to go on channels. I guess that's definitely not going to happen here now because to be honest, I could probably do like a 5 minute Google search and find out what Ben Jacobs is saying, and then wonder why it's taken him like half an hour to say it. Um, anyway, so he's like kind of dropped down the list a little bit in terms of good sources of breaking news, but no, there are definitely a lot of other sources. Is there? I can't really see all the comments, but you got the moderator badge, so that's we'll know that one's you. If anyone's got any final questions, then please get them in for like I'll be live for like another 2 minutes or so, just to go through the last bit of detail. For people that have just tuned in, we talked about Murillo, we talked about Senesi. I think at the moment it's kind of like 60-40 in favor of probably trying to get someone like Murillo if you're looking at what's the best possible player available. But a lot of people look at it and say United should be trying to get more than one defender in if we're looking at moving on other people as well. It's a good point. I agree. Yeah, Stephanie. Stephanie, to be fair, you say you're going as much as I say I'm finishing, so we're kind of like both. bad at ending conversations. If we ever had a phone call, that would probably be not a good idea. Um, but I'm given an opportunity. Like people have got 1 minute if they want to put in some questions. So you need an ice cream. It's t-shirt weather. Where are you based in the UK? Because I'm looking at black clouds, and it's definitely not. It's definitely not t-shirt weather. YouTube. Yeah, sometimes it's like some of the comments when I highlight over them to put them on there, it does seem to be a bit weird. I think with YouTube, I think there's definitely a few comments where when I hover over them, it's a little bit bizarre. So in London, it's actually bright. I'm only like 50 miles above you guys. Hopefully the sun will come out a bit later because that'd be quite nice. I was thinking I could do like a video. I could do like a really short video in the garden actually, and just like do like a. If I was going to do like some breaking news on TikTok or like a YouTube short, I might be able to do it in the garden. But well, I don't want to. I'm not going to do it when it's like like raining, obviously. And there was like this the weather yesterday. It was nice for about 5 minutes, then it rained loads, and I was like, the sun's out in Stoke. Okay, so basically it's sunny everywhere apart from where I live, which is a bit annoying. Hmm, I'm not sure. Is someone going to say like so? That's like the so it's sunny in the south. It's sunny in the. I guess that's just towards the west. Odor waffle. Yeah, I think it said odor waffle, and then I think YouTube changed it. I don't know if it translated it. I think that it could be odor waffle sounds like it could be more expensive, to be fair. And I think if you're going to have eau de parfum, then that's going to cost even more, isn't it? Than if you live in Ireland, you'll be familiar with just warmer rain. Stephanie, it's something that you it might be more enjoyable than it is in the winter rain that's a bit colder. So, by some miracle, there's actually a bit of sun coming through. So I think the sun might be moving north from where you are in London. I think we might be getting a random outbreak of sun. So I'll probably take that as an opportunity to actually get some sun and maybe touch some grass as well, which will be a good thing. But I will be live back tonight at 7 p.m. I think that's the time I'm going to go for. Hopefully, it's going to be a decent news story. But Dylan's going to come on. So if you're around and if you don't know Dylan, any questions regarding Irish players in the past would be great. So Spanish news is reporting that we're linked to Nico Williams. Apparently, the winger is open to a move, according to. Is it a reasonable source, Jarvis? If it's a reasonable source, then I can definitely put it in there. It would be something to talk about. Nico Williams, we played against him last season in the Europa League, didn't we? I guess is that right? Am I getting confused? But if you think it's a credible source, Jarvis, then I'll look into that one. I'll try and remember and look into that one. It could be that there's a few stories. So yeah, no, that's kind of in line with what we're looking at. So big up to you, Jarvis. Appreciate it. I'll try and like get in the comments on your channel as well, Jarvis, tonight. I don't know if you need any people that like to moan about Man United. Then if you need an extra guest, I might be. It depends how much I talk in the meantime. I might be all talked out, but I'll try and um, I'll try and catch your stream as well after my stream. But big up to you and everybody else watching. Thanks a lot. When we get the channel back and monetized, obviously we're going to have to get some waffle water emoji in there. Odor waffle is like a quality one, but I'll try and get some of those all back as well. But if you're able to, as I said, please share the stream. If you're able to rewatch anything at all, that is massively helpful. Okay, yeah, they're quite good sources a lot of the time. So interesting, definitely worth talking about. It's definitely a lot better than the story I saw recently where Indy Carlos said, somebody messaged us who's not very reliable that Southgate's been offered the job. And I was like, okay, right, well, I'll definitely delete that one. Now, big up to you, Jarvis, as well. I appreciate massively when you redirected some people on the night of the Leeds defeat as well. So I appreciate that as well. And hopefully we can grow rapidly and hopefully we can collaborate a bit more in the future as well. And both both like push where we need to be as well. Yeah, in the IndyCar. Sometimes I talk about the stories because it's just nice to talk about the. I'll say this: sometimes the stories we talk about, it's just to talk about what's going on in the world of journalism and go, look, these are stories being pushed out there, and sometimes the stories are put out there to say, look, I don't believe this story, but this is kind of like what, and then we can use that as an angle to talk about what we do think would be a good option for the club. So hopefully people appreciate that. But big up to everybody as well. Yeah, there'll be big breaking news later, I'm sure, somewhere, and if not in this channel itself. But no, thanks everybody for getting involved in the chat. Thanks everybody for reconnecting as well, helping push us back to where we want to be. And hopefully we can get there relatively soon. Until then, guys, have a great rest of your day. I will see you guys at 7, and then we'll see you in Tactical Devils as well at 9 p.m. So be up to Jarvis and another Man United channel legend. And have a great rest of your day. If you're lucky enough to get some sun, which I mean, I thought I saw sun and then it disappeared, so it's going to be hit or miss for me. Enjoy it if you can. It's the UK. You never know. And if you get some warm rain, Stephanie, you said you were going to leave. You obviously didn't. Then then make sure you take advantage of the warm rain. And then, guys, click a like if you haven't done already. Leave a comment after the stream to tell me if you've got sun where you are, if you want to. And also, maybe more appropriately, just say Senesi is worth buying or Murillo is worth buying, whatever your thoughts are. And until then, guys, take it easy. Big up to Coyote for running the Facebook channel. Take a look at the links that are pinned as well of the United TV socials. We're building up every group behind the scenes as well. And catch us at 7 p.m. Big up to you guys, and we will see you in the next one.